Welcome back to Keeping It Real with Tyler Smith. I'm joined by Chase Younts, host of Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast, live from UD Arena today. We're going to have some content coming at Nationwide Arena later this week, which should be a great time. Going to be talking about the first four games that occurred last night: Mississippi State, Pitt, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi taking on SEMO, and then tonight a full slate: Fairleigh Dickinson, Southern Texas, and some much more going on tonight. So it should be a good slate. I think you got Arizona State and Nevada at the 9-10 slot tonight. Should be a good time. Chase, what are your instant reactions from last night, man?
I'll tell you this. So when I was watching that SEMO versus A&M Corpus Christi game, I mean, the thing that really stuck out to me was SEMO and their ability to not make free throws. I mean, they were a 77% free throw shooting team the entire season. But then, go ahead and, go cold from the line, man. That didn't seem a whole lot like them. They were 9 for 20 from the foul stripe. They lost the game by 4. There were points in the game where it looked like they were going to lose by about 15 or 20, but they came back because of, that guy, Chris Harris, man. He was balling 23 points, 9 for 20 from the field. He was 3 for 5 from the line as well, but it was just like they just couldn't make free throws and take the easy opportunities that were given to them.
Absolutely. That was kind of the story for last night. SEMO honestly stuck around way too long than I think they should have last night, and really all to the poise of Chris Harris. Last night, I think we saw the birth of a SEMO legend in Chris Harris, the Antioch, Illinois kid, while we're also witnessing the death of the SEMO program with their March Madness run this year. But Chris Harris balled out last night. He absolutely carried that squad. And up until the end, I thought they were going to come back and win that until Chris Harris fouled out with a little less than a minute to go. He was making crazy shots, put the team on his back, and was carrying them all night long.
Most definitely. When you're a guy like that and you're, kind of going off and you got, you have foul trouble with 3 or 4 fouls late in the game, I'm not saying that you shouldn't put your body on the line or anything like that, but you kind of got to know the restraint. You're like, all right, so my value is getting buckets for this team in this moment right now. Maybe if they get a bucket, I'll come back down and I'll trade a bucket with you guys. I'll come back and I'll throw a shot at you while they're throwing shots at me, and we'll just see what happens at the end of the day. That's kind of what I kind of got from it. But, I mean, Chris Harris was, regardless of all that, he was balling yesterday. It was a heck of a performance and really nice to see from him. Sucks that SEMO couldn't get the job done, but it was a very fun game to watch.
Absolutely. You can't fault Chris Harris for trying to make the play down there late, but I do echo your sentiments. That's what I was thinking. Like, your value. You're carrying the team at this moment. You got to kind of just give up a bucket, play sloppy defense almost, which – you never want to hear someone say, hey, go out there and play sloppy defense, but you have to in that sense because you don't want to risk losing the team the game. And I know Russell, their other guard, played well last night, but he was not Harris. Russell had a couple good ISO takes to the rack, but Harris was going off. I think he ended 26, 27 last night. And he just put the team on his back. And it was a loud 26 and 27, but he exploded late in the game. He was pretty quiet in the first half, and come late in that game, brought SEMO from the depths. I mean, from the depths. They had no business being there. They should have been out of that game way early. Corpus Christi led pretty much the entire night. And it wasn't like Texas A&M Corpus Christi was playing a great game or a great brand of basketball either. It was just SEMO, I think at one point, looked up at the board, shooting 12% from the free throw strike. You can't do that if you want to have any success in March Madness.
Not at all, man. And I think a big thing that I was looking at, obviously you talk about Philip Russell having a decent game overall. He had 15 points. He also had 10 assists. I mean, he was dishing the ball out, but there were just some times where some of those other guys need to step up and get buckets themselves. They just couldn't get it. And there were a lot of opportunities at the foul stripe, and no one was converting. I mean, the start of the game, they were 2 from 11 from the foul line. I mean, that's 9 points you left out there. Say you're shooting 8 for 11 from the foul line, even 7 for 11. I mean, they only lost the game by 4. You hit 7 of 11 of your foul shots at the start of the game. We're talking about this game still might be going on as we speak right now. Who knows?
Absolutely. I think I don't remember who it was, but SEMO opened up. It was Harris or Russell, one of the two. I want to lean towards Harris, but don't quote me on it. But they opened up the game on a 3-point attempt. They get fouled. They go to the stripe, and they go 0 for 3 to start the game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, you just put yourself down. And then also, I think Corpus Christi was up 9-2, 9-1, something like that. It was I want to say 9-2, 9-3, I think, where they were down a couple possessions. They go 0 for 3 at the stripe, and Corpus Christi goes on another 4-0, 5-0 run. And you put yourself in the hole way too early. And Chris Harris brought you back. But if you don't go in that hole early, we might be talking about SEMO taking on Alabama, I think, at the moment, rather than Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Yeah, I mean, look at it like, it was a great game by both teams last night. It was a fun contest to watch that on True TV. I mean, Corpus Christi's probably going to be looking death into their eyes when they play against Brandon Miller in Alabama. But I mean, still having that opportunity to go there and play in the round of 64, that's all you want to ask for, and you look back and you also want to, sometimes second guess yourself. Sometimes you look back on the numbers like, damn, if I would have done that thing better a little bit more, then, we'd be going to Birmingham, Alabama ourselves. But that's the name of the game right there, man. Just, you got to take advantage of the opportunity that you are given.
Absolutely. The goal everybody has at the beginning of the year, not only make it to the dance, but now the first four, you want to make it to the round of 64, let alone the 68. Corpus Christi hits that milestone. They hope to be the next UMBC. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't think so. But guard Jalen Jackson of Corpus Christi was a crafty guard. Watch him to keep Corpus Christi around in that one. I'm not going to say they're going to keep it tight or win the game, but he's going to be a guy who helps them keep it around. He's going to be a guy, if you like looking at players like who's going to be the star in this team, that Jackson kid, number 4, a real crafty guard, got to the rack, slashed, and also hit a couple big threes in the corner last night as well.
Yes, he did, man. I mean, the Corpus Christi team, they didn't look bad yesterday. They had 2 guys in double figures when it came to rebounding, Sheila and Keys, and then they had Fryer also had 8 rebounds. They were rebounding the ball really, really well. Out rebounded SEMO by 15 boards. Jackson had a good game of 22 points. Pretty balanced scoring overall. Just would like to see a little bit more from their bench production and all. I know coming off the bench, Ross Williams had 13 points, but just maybe they had some more bench production and, able to handle the ball better, especially down the stretch of last night. Mm-hmm. That's what kind of got, SEMO back in the game, that and, missing some shots that they would normally make. So be interesting to see what Corpus Christi does on Thursday.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see. I think it'll be a fun game to watch. I think it's a team that will be able to keep it entertaining to an extent. And I think if you do the right things on the glass, as you mentioned, Musiala, their leading rebounder, coming into last night, and if he continues to hit the glass pretty hard, that's always going to help you out if you can control the rebounding margin. I don't think they'll be able to win it against Alabama just because of a size comparison thing. But if you can limit or can kind of contain the rebounding margin, I think that's going to be a massive step for Corpus Christi versus Alabama.
Most definitely. You win or you keep the rebounding margin pretty close. You don't turn the ball over, play good defense, and hit 3-pointers. You always got a chance in March Madness.
Absolutely. No, that's all you can ask as an undersized team and a 16 seed taking on the number 1 overall seed in Alabama. And I don't want to go too quick. We got some tight schedules here, so we're going to take a quick pivot going towards this Pittsburgh Mississippi State game. This game was electric, fun to watch. I had Pittsburgh winning this one. And I was really excited to see them actually come through and win this one. I think Pittsburgh's a team who could make a deeper run in this tournament outside of first 4 round of 64. What are your initial thoughts here?
Yeah, when I was thinking about this matchup coming into Selection Sunday, when once the stuff was released, saw them get paired up. The winner of this got Iowa State. I mean, I thought that Pitt or Mississippi State was going to move on. I thought they were going to move on over Iowa State and have a chance to getting around a 32. I think Pitt, what they did last night, they did a pretty good job shooting from the 3, 9 for 19 from 3. It's not a ton of threes they took last night, but they converted on, almost 50% of their shots from 3. I mean, that's a big thing right there. The rebounding battle, they got out rebounded by 21 rebounds. That's a big concerning.
Significant.
Yeah, huge. I mean, they almost got doubled in that total. So it'll be interesting to see what they do against Iowa State in that regard. They had a pretty balanced scoring night overall, lower scoring game. A lot of defense was involved in this, to win this game. But, just seeing toward the end, both teams were trading buckets back and forth. And you just love to see that that type of play come March. And, the big shot by Jamarius Burton, able to put matters into his own hands, take a 10, 15-foot jumper and just drill it and kind of ice this game.
Absolutely, Jamarius Burton. I really like this Pitt team, a very balanced scoring attack, as you mentioned. Then Nike Sabandi coming off the bench, getting about 11, I think he had 11 last night. And that's all you can ask for. Your 6 men off the bench contributing, doing well. And that's what I like about this Pitt team. They're so balanced. And I think a true X factor is this Guillermo Diaz-Graham. He's a 7-footer. He has a twin brother on the team, number 25 and 31. 25 is Guillermo, who started last night. And let me tell you, he is every bit of 7 foot, if not more than 7 foot, and loves to shoot three. Last night, he didn't do a great job shooting the three. Went 1 for 3, but also 1 for 8 from the field. So a really cold night for him. And if he can perform, anywhere in between 40 to 60% moving forward for Pitt, that's another 10 points a night I think they can have, and that really helps them out here.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Guillermo, man, when they came out with the starting lineups and they were showing the stuff on the screen, I'm looking at, the size differences and, who he's going to have to end up guarding. Tolu Smith was 6'11", 245. Guillermo, 7 foot, 205. I knew there was a big weight difference inside, Smith trying to, back him down and just really take advantage of him. 13 points and 8 rebounds for Smith. I thought Guillermo got better as the game went on. He had a big block to, send the ball out of bounds right before that last possession. But I think with him, development standpoint, I mean, he's going to have to develop.
Absolutely.
He's going to have to get bigger in the gym. Obviously, I think a lot of people are able to realize that. But, he just got to know his role and just not take it too far out of, too far out of complex or anything like that. So, I think if he just kind of plays within himself and keeps his mindset strong and keep it pretty simple, I think this Pitt team, could go through him at one point. Like they can rely on him to get a bucket or two or make a nice play on
Absolutely.
defense. So that's kind of what I saw from Guillermo last night, man. It was a rough night for him shooting, but I think he'll be able to bounce back.
Absolutely. I think if you can have Guillermo out there, that 7-footer, it allows Pitt to play 5 out a lot. They played a lot of 4-round-1 last night, and would pull Guillermo do a lot of pick and pops. And I think if he can start hitting those contested threes, and he had a couple of wide open threes he kind of missed last night, but if he can hit those threes, it's going to spread the defensive out and allow guys like Henson to get to the rack and Cummings to get to the rack, which I think is kind of this key for this Pitt team. Get to the rack, attack, and then also they did a great job. They're a smaller team, a lot of guys who looked very much comfortable handling the ball, who can just dish out to the corners and the wings, get those threes, and also allow for second chance slashing opportunities.
Yep, guard dominant team right there. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot in college, when you talk about, getting the ball off to Guillermo off the pick and pop, even, he'll have some wide open threes, especially next game in Iowa State if they go on ahead, watch that film and see it, they want him to prove it that he can hit a 3 or 2, But you look at it, if guys are starting to jump him, shoot, I'll hit a little swing pass. I'll hit a quick skip pass, one more pass to the corner, and then get your guards who, are wide open for 3. Because, I mean, you shoot 9 from 19 in college basketball on a 3-point from the 3-point line. I mean, you're going to be in every single game out there.
Absolutely. And I think, too, with Guillermo, watching him last night, the kid's a 7-footer. He's a freshman out of Spain. I don't know his background too well, but he seems like one of those big men who, hit a growth spurt late because he had a lot of guard tendency. He did very well when he got the ball, reading the defense. Where a lot of 7-footers sometimes I'm just going to hand the ball off to my guard. So, hey, point guard, come get this from me. I don't want this. And he's he wanted the ball in his hands. So I like that from him, that confidence, didn't have the results in the box score or on the court last night, but that mental confidence. I hope he doesn't lose that, because if he has that confidence going into the next round, I think he'll do very well.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Sometimes, when you're in those situations, big situations like this, I mean, obviously this is the biggest stage in, in college sports when it comes to basketball. But when you're, a guy like Guillermo who has a guard background and you have that quick growth spurt like that, you think about it, his instincts are probably I want to play a guard. I want to do this and that. I know what I'm trying to make. I know what pass I'm trying to make. I know what type of, pick and pop, pick and roll and stuff like that. But sometimes it's just not going to really, it might be a second too late. It might be a half second too late. And that could be the difference in a game and all that. And I, obviously didn't really show up on the court last night, but, but I think he'll be able to learn from this and kind of process things quicker and quicker. And then I think that'll help his team out and get a win against Iowa State on Thursday.
Absolutely. I really like this Pittsburgh team, the Pitt Panthers, to kind of get over Iowa State. A few years back, we had an 11 seed come out of Dayton and go to the Final Four. Yeah. You mentioned a lot, UCLA. I don't think this Pitt team's going to the Final Four, but they definitely could make a run. I think ceiling could be Elite 8, Sweet 16, but that's a legitimate possibility for this team. I don't think it's too big of a reach for this squad.
Yeah, I think Jeff Capel's got these guys playing motivated. They're fired up. He obviously is motivated, fired up, and pretty emotional into it. And it's a good story for sure. I think they could definitely win a game or two, and inside the round of 64 and 32, and get to Sweet 16.
So I think biggest weakness for Pitt they have to address is the rebounding battle, which you mentioned earlier on. And I actually had it circled on my notes. 6 offensive rebounds last night, 22 defensive rebounds for a total of 28, where Mississippi State had 18 offensive rebounds and 31 defensive rebounds. If you're allowing 18 offensive rebounds a night, that's 18 extra possessions.
Yeah. I mean,
Mississippi State converted.
They did. I mean, you look at the numbers and you see, we only had 6 offensive rebounds and the other team 18 offensive rebounds. You would think the other team won by about 10 or 15. It's almost, I'm not going to say it's a miracle, but it's a blessing that Pittsburgh won this game from the fact of, we got tripled in offensive rebounds, which is 12 extra possessions for Mississippi State. So, from being efficient from the 3-point line and, not having a lot of fouls or anything like that, it kind of helped out for Pittsburgh in the end.
Absolutely. Pittsburgh happy to be moving on. This is a very pro Pittsburgh crowd last night. I'm sure you guys heard it on the broadcast.
Most definitely.
I'm happy for Pittsburgh to be moving on. This is a veteran squad who can kind of do their thing. And I really like them to kind of go because not only that, because it's a guard dominant team and they have confident guards, experienced guards. And come March, that goes a long way, I think. It can't be understated. It can't be an understatement. It can't be underspoken, undersaid. It's huge.
Definitely does. I mean, you have some teams that are that are veteran teams that have been in situations like this before. When you're an older team, you've basically been thrown a lot of things at you, like this Pitt team has with a lot of these players. So I think they're gonna, really take this and embrace it really well in March.
Absolutely. And then moving forward a little bit, coming into the game tonight, you have Texas Southern taking on Fairleigh Dickinson University. Now, this is going to be a game that, no one really knows about these two teams coming into this. You have the 2 16 seeds fighting here. But I think this game is going to be extremely entertaining. You may not know a lot about the players going on, so just getting a recap here for Texas Southern. Leading scorers Devon Barnes, followed by Carl Nichols, who has 8.9 rebounds a game. PJ Henry, 12.7 points per game. Walker the third with 12.6 points per game, and Nicholas with 10.7. So if you just look there at a glance, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 guys in double digits for Texas Southern. And I think that's going to be a big thing for them tonight. Just relying on not only Devon Barnes to kind of go off, but they're going to have a good offensive explosion here. And what's really carries Texas Southern to this point is their defense. They're 196 in adjusted defense, a 286 KenPom rating total, with a 330 adjusted offense. So I think it's going to be Texas Southern's defense that gives them a chance tonight.
Yeah, buddy, if you play defense well in March, it's going to really set up your offense overall. I like, I haven't watched this team a lot. I don't think any of us have really watched this team at all.
No, not many.
But not many. They're faithful fans down at Texas Southern, man. But I think you look at it, when I'm looking at the numbers, they remind me of a balanced Charleston team. I mean, obviously I don't know the style they really play a whole lot of, but I mean, 13, 12, 12 and 10. I mean, any guy can go off at any night. And, they're all pretty consistent, especially, Carl Nicholas with 8.9 rebounds a game. I mean, you got to have a guy inside that can really win the rebounding battle, give his team extra possessions, close out, defensive possessions and all that, and get his guys out there to score. So I'm very excited to see this Texas Southern team play tonight for sure.
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned a great point, like Charleston, a very balanced offensive attack. And I think that's what hurts a lot of these mid-majors and smaller schools come March when they rely too much on one elite ball dominant scorer. Because then that team they play is obviously, all right, this guy's good. Let's make somebody else beat us. So they'll double team, they'll shade towards him, things like that. You know what I'm talking about. You've been in those games before. And I think with Texas Southern, when you guys have 4 guys who can go off for not only 10 to 13, like they average, but go off for 20, 22, 25, or maybe 2 guys for that case. I think that's always kind of tough to deal with as a defensive system or a defensive coach.
Yep, most definitely.
And then we have, and then Fairleigh Dickinson on the other side, the explosive offense. So Texas Southern tonight is the more, I guess you would say, explosive defense. So they're a heavy defense team, slower on the offensive side of things. Fairleigh Dickinson, the explosive offense to slower defense. You have Roberts, who's their leading kind of ball dominant player, 16.7 points per game, 4.3 assists per game. I think Fairleigh Dickinson's going to do their thing tonight and potentially win this, just counting on their offense.
Yep, I'll say this. They are an at-large 16 seed. They did not win their conference. They had the I forget who won their conference, but they have that 4-year stupid probation period. So Fairleigh Dickinson's taking the bid right there. They're also a very balanced scoring team. Roberts averaging 16.7 points a game and 4.3 assists. That's pretty big. Really about scoring the ball in March, playing good defense. If Fairleigh Dickinson is able to do that, I think they should take over and win this game tonight.
Absolutely. I think Fairleigh Dickinson's going to win this one. And we got to bounce here real quick. We're going to go Arizona State and Nevada. So just give you a quick run through. Arizona State, the dominant defense, one of the best turnover defenses in the country, and they oppose their defense. So they oppose their will on defense, limit field goal percentage. I think they're top 5 in opponent field goal percentage. And Nevada kind of more of a balanced attack coming out of the Mountain West. And I think on paper, Nevada's key to winning this game tonight is going to be their free throw percentage. They're one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. What are your takes on this one?
You put them at the line, you give them opportunities like that, they're not going to miss anything. I'm really excited to see these two coaches go at it tonight. Steve Alford's been at Indiana. He's been, he played in Indiana, went to UCLA, a couple of different schools like that. So he's been in March before. And I'm also excited to see Bobby Hurley get another chance at, another crack at coach. And both of these guys were fantastic college players. Steve Alford's had a bit of a better run, as a coach. Actually used to coach Manchester College in the HCAC conference. I did not know any of that. It's incredible. And then Bobby Hurley, having a chance at Arizona State to really get back in the tournament. And, they've had a bit of a wild ride this season, especially as of late. They hit the buzzer beater against Arizona from about three-quarter court to win the game. And that win basically solidified them to get into this tournament. So, they're going to be riding off fumes as well. I'm just excited to see these two teams out west meet here in the 937 Dayton, Ohio, and just battle it out for some great late night basketball before this tournament starts tomorrow. I'm so excited for this game.
Absolutely. I echo all those sentiments. It's going to be a great game tonight. I think Arizona State is going to get the win here. That's my prediction. But if Nevada wins, it's because they go 80% from the free throw stripe tonight. That's what I think is going to happen. I think this is going to be a game of throwing stones and throwing up bricks tonight, a very defensive, low-scoring contest. And that's why I like Arizona State's defense a lot, but if it's this low-scoring affair, don't be surprised if Nevada pulls it out at the free throw line.
Most definitely. Give them opportunities like that, they're going to take advantage of them, and that's the name of the game right there.
Absolutely. Excited. Great first four action here in Dayton, bouncing up to the first and second rounds. The both of us here in Columbus at Nationwide Arena later this week. We'll be pumping out something there for you. Not sure what that'll look like, but there'll be something for you all out there. But Chase, thanks again for hopping on, man. Hope you're feeling better. And I can't wait to see you this weekend.
Most definitely, man. Good seeing you as well.
Good seeing you. Take care, everybody.
Yes, sir.